Why does your resume keep getting rejected? Today, I'm going to be going over how to write a winning civil structural engineering resume. I'm going to be doing this by going over the mistakes that I commonly see in resumes and also what stands out to me, what you should do in order to make a good resume. And I'm going to be going over this by going through actual real life examples of resumes that I've seen. I'm also going to be going over some of my old resumes and what I did wrong and what I think I did right. Hi, I'm Matt and I'm a structural engineering project manager in the Southern California area. Let's get started with today's content. All right, first let's go over the common mistakes that I see that drive me nuts when I'm seeing a resume. Just so you know, most people that are looking at your resume, the ones that are doing the hiring decisions, they're only gonna take up about 10 to 15 seconds to skim through your resume. So based off that, you need to make a very good first impression and highlight your key points because they're not going to read all of your bullet points. They're just gonna go through just the first couple lines to see if it's even worth reading. One of the common mistakes is that I see a lot is that some people just make the resume too unreadable, too long. If you're going 2 pages, that's a red flag for me. Your resume does not need to be 2 pages unless you've been in the industry for 10 to 15 years. Anything lower than that, I think you should just be precise and hit the points and hit the skills that you need to convey to the recruiter or whoever's hiring you. That way you're not wasting their time. And it also shows that you know how to communicate effectively. And along these lines too, don't make your paragraphs or don't put in paragraphs. Try to use bullet points and just try to make it easy on the eyes. Try to make it easy to read for whoever's reading your resume. Other common errors to avoid are misspellings, because if you can't even get your spelling right and your grammar right on your resume, how are you gonna communicate during emails or when you're actually hired? And the other big one I see is that your resume is not focused. So if you're a civil engineering student and you want to specialize in structures, if you're just putting all of your civil engineering classes like traffic, hydrology, environmental, a lot of those things really have nothing to do with a structural engineering design firm and what they do. So you're just wasting paper and you're wasting space and you're wasting their time if you're not focusing your resume on what the internship is actually supposed to do or the entry position that you're applying for. So I know that was kind of vague and pretty rushed, but I think the best way to actually see these is to actually let's look at real life examples that I've come across during my reviews of resumes. All right, so let's jump into some actual real world examples on these mistakes that you shouldn't be making. So obviously for these I've edited them just to keep them anonymous, but I'll show you how I actually go through these. So once I first get this resume, pretty much I'm okay, there's a student and then I'm going to go to their school, but you can see right here they already have some formatting errors, they got some spelling mistakes, and that's already a red flag for me. So even just looking at that in the first couple seconds, this is something that I'm not too impressed with. And then as I go through their personal projects, the good thing here is that first they got it's pretty focused in terms of their classes. Hey, reinforced concrete, timber, but you don't need water resources or transportation if you're applying for a structural engineering position. So keep it focused, but in terms of the personal projects, again, you're not really showing us the skills or showcasing your skills in a proper way. You're just saying, hey, I designed a 2-story parking structure, and well, what did you learn? What can you bring to the table? It's not very descriptive and it's pretty vague. So even just with that, you're not really showing the skills that you need to go ahead, or at least makes me want to read the resume more. And over here, page 1 of 2, that's already a red flag. Like if your resume is more than a page, I'm not gonna read it. But just for the sake of this, we can see it, and again, I'm not gonna read this stuff. And well, I'm kind of reading it now just for the video, but all this stuff isn't really relevant either. So again, we're only going to take a couple seconds to read through your resume, and if it doesn't strike us as good, we're probably just going to throw it away in the first couple of seconds. So that attention to detail is very critical. So just even that, I mean, it wasn't thoroughly vetted. This resume could have been vetted out. And again, attention to detail, like these are just words. I mean, you're saying you're attentive to detail, but look at your resume. So again, don't just show us what skills and through your resume. If you got a really good resume, it's really organized, that says a lot about you already. So let's go on to the next one. So this is the next student. So I'll look at the student name and then profile. Well, this is way too much. I'm not even going to read that. Like, nope, block of text. I'm not reading it. Already a bad impression right now, but then, I'll go to their school. They got a pretty decent GPA. ASCE member, like, that's great, but I don't know what you did. Like, did you learn any skills from being an ASCE member, or did you just show up to meetings? So sometimes it's not even worth it just to say that you're an ASCE member, because you just pay a couple bucks to sit in on a meeting. Like, what did you actually do? What skills did you actually build from that, and how can it help the firm that you're trying to work for? Same thing with a Timber Strong build team. Very vague. Structural calculations. I mean, you can get a lot more descriptive with that, and I'll show you how to do that in the other examples later on. And over here, skills, not too relevant. I mean, you got some soft skills over here in the retail, but where are the hard skills, the analytical skills that we know that you have a good basis on? So it's not very tailored, at least with this resume, and it has too much text. So that's why this one we would probably throw away in the first couple seconds. All right, the next one, student C. Actually, this one's probably not a student just from that, but anyways, over here, I think that's too much text, but it might be okay. But for the most part, I don't really want to read that. So my eyes are just going to go straight to structural project engineer. So he has some experience and performing calculations, participated in meetings. So yeah, so it looks like you got some skills there, but I think as I go through it, it's like you keep adding more stuff that's just no. Like, I think you could probably have skipped this. And then over here again, even though you have experience, if you don't have like 10 years of experience, keep it to one page. To me, this kind of just seems like you're vomiting out your accomplishments on the page. Like you're just, anything that's not even related, you're just going to be putting it on there. Like this stuff, there's a lot of stuff that, like, stormwater, not really related to a structural engineering firm. So a lot of this stuff, I mean, this just needs to be shortened down. I'm pretty sure this person has the skills if they just became more focused. But this one, probably off the bat, I mean, I don't know, it would have been a tough one. Probably I would have just thrown this away too, just because it's so unorganized and pretty much unfocused that, I don't know, what does it say about this person on how organized they are and how their communications are if they're just spewing everything out? Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this one's actually mine. I dug this one up before my one of my first internships, and just looking back at it, I would have changed a lot this is when I didn't have too much work experience. I've only had one volunteer internship. But so, for example, I've been a lot more focused to the next internship that I was applying for. I was just like over here just showing all the classes I'd taken when I should have just been focusing on the field that I was trying to get into. Over here, I kind of list what kind of the skills that I was bringing, but I could have been a lot more specific in terms of software and quantifying things. I would have done that. Over here, I had a general clerk position that wasn't too relevant to the position, so I would have taken this out. And I would have gotten a lot more specific with these activities and interests for the GeoWall and the seismic design team. I would have done something like this over here in the red, where I'm actually showcasing the skills in terms of engineered and the results, co-authored and first place at the geotech competition, second place in the seismic design competitions by using critical thinking and utilizing SAP 2000 structural analysis software to resist seismic loads. So that's doing things like that. I would have done a lot differently for these and tailored it more. So, and in terms of over here in the honors, I would have just taken that out. I mean, that's not much, and it's just taking up room on the resume. Now let's get into the good things that you can do on your resume. These are the things that when I'm reading it, it pops out at me and it makes me want to read the resume more and bring you in for an interview. So the first thing that I like to see is that it's clean and it's clear and it's concise. If I'm looking at the resume and it looks nice and it looks readable, then that's already a first good impression before I even read a word. But on the other case, if I just see a bunch of paragraphs and a whole blocks of text, I don't even want to read it, because it shows that that person does not know how to communicate concisely. Again, I'm only going to take about 10 to 15 seconds to even figure out if I think you're a good candidate and we want to interview you. So I expect to see your name, what school you went to, and your relevant coursework that relates to structural engineering if you're applying for a structural engineering position. And the other big thing that pops out is if you have internship experience. It doesn't necessarily have to be structural. If it's structural, that's great, but construction and anything else that's civil related can also work, because it's up to you to figure out what you learned in those internships and translate it to structural engineering. And by having internships, it shows that you've kind of just been vetted out already, that you can work with people and that you're hireable. That's why internships are so important. Other things that pop out to me are volunteer experiences, like doing engineering competitions, leading a team in one of those like steel bridge competitions or a concrete canoe. So things like that are engineering related. It shows that you're more than interested in the subject, and that you're a team player, and that you have leadership potential. Same thing goes if you're part of the board for a organization at your school that's engineering related, such as ASCE. It shows off your management skills, and it shows off your people skills, and shows that you can work as a team, which you will be doing a lot in any civil engineering specialty that you go in. And the last thing is quantify your experiences and your skills. You'll get a better idea of what I mean by going into the resume examples that we're about to get to right now. Now let's get into some actual examples of what some good resumes look like, and resumes that stand out to me. So for this first one, this one was a student, and again, it's just going to take me a couple seconds to scan a resume. So the first thing I see is their school. They went to good school, and GPA is pretty good. And right here, okay, you took all the relevant coursework, and you're listing all of the relevant coursework: concrete, steel, finite element, foundations, earthquake, good stuff. And then I go into your projects. Hey, you're saying structural design. You're saying, hey, reinforced concrete using ETABS. Then you verified the model with hand calculations, and you know code. So you're at least familiar with like the ACI, and hey, you can calculate wind and earthquake loads using ASCE 710, shear wall, slabs, columns. That's good stuff right there. That's something, if you're an intern, that's a lot of the things that we're going to have you doing. And just showing that right there, even in just this two bulleted bullet points, I'm already, okay, I want to read more of this. What else does this person have? Again, structural design, ETABS, hand calculations, listing the codes, that's all pretty good stuff. And over here, then work experience. Oh, you were an intern. Great. So you have some work experience. That's even better. I want to keep reading on. So what did you do during that internship? Well, you pretty much cross-check beams, columns using, hey, relevant industry software that design firms usually use. So that's great right there. And you reviewed shop drawings and design calculations. So this one is pretty good. All this stuff is basically what we're going to be having you doing as an entry level or as an intern. So that right there, we'd want to hire or interview this person right off the bat, or at least they have a very good chance of being interviewed. This one would go in the good pile. So I don't even need to read the rest of the resume. I think this one would probably be vetted out as someone that we'd be interested in interviewing. Let's go on to the next one. Same thing here. The way I scan it is I see the student, what their education was, pretty good GPA. That's good too. And over here, they're listing all of the relevant courses to a structural engineering design firm. And same thing here. These are all pretty relevant to the industry too. And right off the bat, structural engineering intern. Great. I want to read more. So what did you actually do? Retrofits, rehabilitations, design shear walls, gravity systems, and check lateral systems for seismic. So that's good. But hey, I'm seeing beams posts. Hey, using relevant software. You're in the residential industry, and then you've also designed concrete. So you got wood, concrete, you know how to use software. Great, you know how to use code. So already that's a good start. Over here, as we get towards it more, I think it got into overkill. I think this needs to be cut down a lot, but over here, I think this stuff it's not too relevant just from what I'm seeing. You could probably salvage that, but now it gets too much. Even though it is pretty relevant, I would have just taken the most important ones and just sized it down, just because now it's becoming a lot of things to read. But at least from this one was fairly focused, so that's the good part. But over here, these are all relevant, but cut it down, because I could tell they shrunk down the text to try to fit everything, versus just taking out stuff and just focusing on the things that would really matter. So that would be my only comment for that. So let's go on to the next one. And over here, student, education, and pretty good GPA, so that's good too. But then let's go over here. Project intern, straight away, this guy has internship experience, so that's good. And then they're pretty familiar with the construction side, which is always good. So it's pretty relevant, because we work with contractors a lot, so they know the construction side and what the contractors go through. So submittals, RFIs. So that's actually some pretty good stuff right there too. You have work experience. You have multiple internships. That's a good sign. Again, a lot of this stuff isn't directly related to structural engineering, but just being on the construction side of things, that's something that has a lot of weight when you're going into the design industry. So you don't have a lot of structural engineering experience over here, but at least over here in the leadership, this is good, just because it shows that you have the soft skills to basically potentially grow, maybe even become a type of manager, or someone that could be a leader in the firm, just because, hey, you have leadership things over here. So you have the soft skills to do all that too. And that's the other thing that at least I look for. You have the hard skills and you have the soft skills. So that's always something that's good. So by having work experience and leadership, that's a good sign for me. Let's go into my other resume. This was after I got in my internship, and I think I was going for my second structural engineering internship. At this point, I was already at UC San Diego. But as you can see here, I really just tried to highlight the projects that were relevant to a structural engineering position. I went into the coursework straight away, showed my school, and went into my relevant projects over here. Designed, analyzed columns, foundations, multi-story concrete parking structure, timber, and ASCE and ASCE codes. I really just tried to emphasize that. I wanted them to know that I could design things and that I knew the codes. And over here, I really wanted to communicate that I could communicate technical concepts and ideas. And by doing that, we were able to get awarded the first place. Same thing with the seismic design team. I really just wanted to showcase the skills that I could structurally analyze software and experience in seismic design loads, and kind of just showing off the skills that I had there in those competitions, along with my work experience. Over here, I would have put structural, just to showcase that it was a structural engineering internship, where I've interned, and also, for the city. So just showing that I've had multiple internships and that I can work with different people and organizations. Again, I would have kept on improving it. I mean, always trying to improve your resume and tailor it, but this one was at least good enough to get me my second structural engineering internship. All right, if you found that helpful, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and if you have any friends or colleagues that you think can benefit from this, make sure to share this video with them also. Thanks again, and I will see you next time.